I think the internet has really distorted the idea of what it means to be an entrepreneur. There seems to be this increasingly pervasive sentiment that being a business owner and working for yourself is inherently romantic, or that it's the pinnacle of success and fulfillment, and that being a successful entrepreneur will give you access to money and power and a lifestyle beyond your wildest dreams. And I'll be honest, the word entrepreneur has always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. When you ask somebody what they do for a living or what they want to do for a living, to me, entrepreneur is not an answer. And I say that as somebody who's been fully self-employed for 10 years now and who has started and run multiple businesses throughout my life. But if somebody asked me what I do for a living, I'd respond with what I actually do for a living, because entrepreneur could mean literally anything. It could mean that you're a big-time real estate investor, or it could mean that you're a self-employed plumber or carpenter, or that you walk dogs or detail cars or clean houses. It could mean that you have a YouTube channel, it could mean that you own a restaurant or a bowling alley, or it could mean that you dress up as Barney and entertain toddlers at birthday parties.
Oh, hello everybody!
And so to me, when you call yourself an entrepreneur, I don't see that as an answer. I see that as a sad attempt to flex, to try to make yourself seem more important than you actually are. If you own a restaurant, say you own a restaurant. If you're a mechanic, say you're a mechanic. If being birthday party Barney pays your bills, then all the power to you, just say so. And especially when spoken in terms of aspirations, saying something like, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, that's like the easiest way to tell people that you aren't one and that you never will be. Because if you wanted to be, you would be. And if you were, then you would tell people what kind of business you actually plan to own or start. But I say all of this because being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, being self-employed, almost never looks the way that social media makes it look. And it's not supposed to. I've made a lot of videos in the past talking about entrepreneurship and self-employment and encouraging you guys to get out there and start your own thing if that's what you want to do. Because for me personally, working for myself for the last 10 years has been one of the most liberating and most rewarding things I've ever done. But probably not in the way you think, because everything that you've been taught about success is a lie. I think for most people, the word success stirs up images of luxury homes and expensive cars and designer clothes and elaborate vacations and all sorts of other materialistic things. And if chasing after those things is genuinely what you think will make you happiest in life, then be my guest, do it. But in actuality, that's not how most entrepreneurs define success, and that's not what inspires people to become entrepreneurs. Because if those are the things that you really want most in life, there are far easier ways to get them than starting a business which may or may not even work out. You could go to medical school and become a surgeon or an anesthesiologist and make like $500,000 a year.
The knee bone's connected to the something. The something's connected to the red thing.
You could become a software engineer. Those guys make bank. You could go to law school, get a job at a big firm, put in your hours, earn your stripes, and work your way up to partner. It'll take a while, but eventually you'll make a killing. You could go into finance and make multiple six figures a year selling investment products to people. All of these careers have reasonably straightforward trajectories towards very high incomes, and most of them take equal or less time than starting a business from scratch. And unlike with self-employment, as long as you get your credentials and work hard, you're pretty much guaranteed to earn a very high income. So if making a shit ton of money is your main priority, this is the easiest way to do it. Starting and running a business, on the other hand, is a completely different ballgame. 40% of businesses fail within the first 3 years. That number jumps up to 65% within 10 years. Regardless of the line of work you're in, owning a business typically means putting in months or years of work, working more hours than you've ever worked before, and taking on all sorts of responsibilities you never thought you'd ever have to deal with, all in hopes that maybe eventually it will pay off. And it may, or it may not. And even if we give ourselves the benefit of the doubt here and say that our hard work does pay off and our business does succeed, it's still probably not going to look the way you expect. Because for every multi-millionaire business owner out there who's jet-setting around the world and sipping cocktails on yachts, there are millions of other successful business owners out there who make $40,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 a year and live a really normal, modest lifestyle. So then the question becomes, why would somebody spend years of their life building something which may never come to fruition? Why would they invest their money into something that may never give them a return? Why would they accept the volatility of never having a guaranteed income or a steady paycheck or PTO or anything like that, all just for a mediocre income? Like, what's the point? Well, as somebody who has done it for years now, I'll tell you exactly why. Because success doesn't look like a mansion. Success doesn't look like a Ferrari. Success doesn't look like having millions of dollars in the bank. Success to an entrepreneur is simply the ability to keep doing whatever you're doing. Every single day that I wake up and don't have to go look for another job, I am successful. And it doesn't matter if I make $100 that day, or I make $1,000 that day, or I make $10,000 that day. I've never actually made $10,000 in a day, but you get my point. And I think that this is especially true for anybody who works in a creative field like music or photography or filmmaking or content creation, but really it applies to all business owners. Success is not being in a certain tax bracket. It's being able to do whatever you want. To wake up without an alarm clock, to take a day off without asking permission, to be there for your family when they need you. Whatever your priorities are, obviously they're different for everyone. And I think that this is so important. Getting to the bottom of who you really are and what really matters to you most in life once you strip away all of society's expectations. And it's not an easy thing to do. All of us are brought up with so many external sources telling us what we should do and who we should be. Your family, your friends, your culture, even the media you consume puts all of this pressure on us to make us believe that we're supposed to follow a certain path or that we're supposed to want certain things. I've heard so many people say that they feel like they're going nowhere in life just because they aren't hitting certain milestones that they think they should be. But a lot of the times, if you stop and you ask yourself why you even want these things, why they're even important to you to begin with, you'll find that it's actually just because you've adopted somebody else's definition of success, and it may not even actually be what you want for yourself. Therapy can be an invaluable tool in learning to ask yourself these hard questions and getting to the bottom of what you really want for yourself. And today's sponsor, BetterHelp, can connect you with a therapist who can help you find answers to some of these questions. All you have to do is click the link below, fill out a quick questionnaire, and BetterHelp will match you with a qualified therapist in just a few days. You can do your sessions fully online at a time that works for you, and if your therapist isn't a good match for any reason, you can switch to a new one at any time for no extra cost. So head over to betterhelp.com/accordingtonicole to get 10% off your first month, and thanks BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. It was this specific mindset, this prioritization of being able to have the freedom and flexibility to live my life how I want, and especially the desire to keep doing so for as long as possible, that initially led me to frugal living and to taking an interest in personal finance overall. And what I'm about to say applies to everybody, whether you're self-employed or you're the employee of a company. But the reason that frugal living and the reason that saving money is so important is because it buys you your future. Let's say, for example, that it costs me $5,000 a month to live for all my bills and expenses, everything combined. That's $166, let's call it $170 a day. Well, for every $170 that I can save, that's one more day in the future that I can keep doing whatever I want. One more day that I can wake up at 11 a.m. One more day that I can take Levi for a mid-afternoon walk. One more day that I don't have to answer to a boss. One more day that I don't have to look for a job. And if you already have a traditional job, then every $170 you save, or whatever your number is one less day that you have to keep that job. It's one more day that you don't have to work in the future. Now, obviously, anything can be taken to an extreme. I am not suggesting that you live off of ice cubes and oxygen to fast track your way to retirement. Oh, holy shit, that's cold. I'm not suggesting that you deprive yourself of a comfortable and dignified existence today. But like with everything, the key to being successful in business, in life, in every way, is first defining what success means to you. Not what it means to somebody else, not what you think it should mean to you, not what it means to your friends or what it means by social media standards, but genuinely what it means to you. What would make you feel successful? What would make you happy? The definition of success is entirely subjective, and I think it goes way beyond money. Who would you say is more successful? Somebody who's wealthy but has nothing else going for them? No friends, no family, no hobbies, no community? Or somebody who makes a modest living at a boring job but has amazing friends and a loving family and tons of hobbies and interests and things that fulfill them? I talked about this in another video that I made just a few weeks ago, but the first year that I made $30,000 working for myself, I felt successful. I'm sure nobody else would have seen it that way because $30,000 is basically minimum wage, and I was 23 years old. I had no post-secondary education. I was living at my mom's house. I was driving a 15-year-old rusted out Honda, and I only made that $30,000 through working multiple different businesses and side hustles and really doing whatever I could to scrape up a few bucks. So definitely not success by anyone else's standards. It was probably the hardest I've ever worked in my life to make $30,000. But to me, it felt like the easiest because I did it on my own terms. I could have easily gone and got a chill office job making like $40,000 a year. I probably would have got some PTO and some medical benefits. I would have had my evenings and weekends off, and I wouldn't have had to be constantly questioning where my next dollar was going to come from. Most people would have definitely seen that as more successful than what I was doing, but that wasn't the life that I wanted for myself. That wasn't my definition of success. If your personal definition of success is making a lot of money and living in an expensive neighborhood and taking a lot of vacations and generally having the means to buy yourself whatever you want whenever you want, then realistically, following a traditional career path is probably the best bet for you. You can pursue a high-paying career and you will succeed in getting the life that you want. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. But if, like me, your definition of success is being able to sleep in every day and wear whatever you want and set your own hours and generally do whatever you want, then starting a business that can facilitate that lifestyle can make you very successful, regardless of how much money you do or don't make, as long as it's enough to keep you doing that thing. The potential that the business could grow and could make you a lot of money is really just the icing on the cake. By my personal definition, I would be more successful making $50,000 a year doing whatever I want than making $500,000 a year working at a stressful job that I hate. But most people wouldn't see it that way, and that's okay. But all of this is to say that working a boring job doesn't make you unsuccessful. Earning a mediocre income doesn't make you unsuccessful. Running a small business that makes enough to pay your bills but not much else doesn't make you unsuccessful. And likewise, having a high net worth or owning a giant house or even having your name on the side of a building doesn't necessarily make you successful. The only thing that will ever make you successful is relentlessly pursuing a life that you want and not giving a damn what anybody else thinks. But hey, as always, these are just my thoughts and I would love to hear yours, so drop me a comment down below and let me know what you think. Let me know what your definition of success is, and by that definition, do you feel successful? If you enjoyed this video at all, please go ahead and hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. You can follow me on Instagram at according_to_Nicole. Other than that, thank you guys so much as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.